Hello, everybody. Excuse me. You think I would clear some of that out before we got started here? My name is John Nelson. I'm the plugin CEO of JKL Works and pluginbusiness.net. And there's been lots of stuff happening there. So I am excited today to begin to share with you what has been going on over the past few weeks, what that means for you, and what that means, in a lot of realms and a lot of circles here, because I've kind of broadened some things out a little bit, and so I want to pass that knowledge along to you all. There have been some kind of refit. I think 2024 is going to be a fantastic year, and as a result, I think there's going to be we're going to take some steps out in ways that we haven't really before. So what in the world am I talking about and babbling on about? So let's jump into this a little bit. We're on in some new places. Thank you very much for some old friends. So good to be back on in some of those groups. So I'm happy to see that. So let's talk about what this is going to look like. Okay, so let me share my screen and see what we're getting into. So this is the beginning of a journey. This particular part, and so I want you to. We're going to talk about some things called business optimization. This is more. I know some of these are groups of marketers, and that's all we think about is marketing and getting customers for our clients, and those are wonderful pursuits and good and noble pursuits. But I'm taking a step back a little bit. I'm focusing a little bit more on the business side of things. And so as kind of been evidence here. So that's going to be my focus over the next quite a while. I want to, we talk about in the Atlas Agency Launch Lab, sort of getting you to think like a CEO. This is taking that to another level. This is really not only focusing on the thing that you're selling, which is you need to do. You need to have sales to do what you do, but having an efficient business behind it, having an efficient business model behind it. That is just as much or more important, because otherwise, if you're not prepared, then the wheels can come off when you start seeing success. Different things can happen that you didn't plan on, and then all of a sudden you kind of find yourself in a bad situation there. Where you hang on, I just want to check something real quick. Okay, yeah, you find yourself in a bad situation there that is not what you planned. So I kind of had an epiphany a little bit at the end of last year, and this was, okay, I'm doing all these things in marketing. I'm, learning a lot. I am, sharing a lot of knowledge that I have learned over 20 years of doing this. But there just seemed to be something missing in it for me. There seemed to be something, there were directions that I would naturally gravitate to that were not necessarily the ones that I planned on. And in some cases were a little harder to sell. And then I came across a system and a process and an additional group that focuses on business optimization success. Not only the marketing, but it's the running of the business itself. And for me, this has continued and literally a 20-year evolution, really 25-year evolution, because some of the seeds of it were planted before that when I worked for a company that did business process mapping on their way to maintenance and reliability consulting. They started with a business process map. And in fact, that was the first thing that I was supposed to do for them as I signed on, even though my job role really had nothing to do with that. But they wanted me to understand the business. They wanted me to understand how it worked. They wanted me to understand what they did. And that has served me for 25 years. Literally for 25 years. So I want to pass that along to you all, because now I have the tools and the techniques and, frankly, the success and the failure to look back and see, okay, this did not work because we really didn't have things as well in place as we thought we did. This did work because we had a set process. We did everything repeatably. And we finished up, we finished strong and were able to sell a company that quite literally started, it's one of those you always hear about that almost literally started on the back of a napkin and ended up being sold for, for 8 figures. So, I mean, it is, it's something that can be, uh, it's an incredible journey. And so I want to take you along that journey, and I want you to apply it to your business. And then once we're done, I want you to apply it to your client's business as well, because this is more than just about getting them customers. You can get them all the customers in the world, but if their business falls apart when you start bringing them those customers, or they start imploding, or they become difficult to work with because of change, then what have you done? How have you really helped them? By the same token, maybe you're the person that's sitting there in your group of, of your circle of influence, and you're trying to get out there and get clients. And I've talked about this a lot, is how do you stand out? What do you do? What are you, what makes you different than everybody else? So on the screen is kind of what's going to make me different. I have come across an ability as going through a process we call the success blueprint. I'll talk about more in a minute, where I can recover. I'm in the revenue recovery business. Okay. And this is using time-tested techniques. Some of them are marketing related. I don't totally abandon marketing at all. But we stress a lot more of the foundations of marketing that I've talked about many, many, many times. We stress a lot more of the best business practices. And that's unique for every business, and it's different for every business. And it's even different for if you start adding in nonprofit organizations. They think differently, but they still need the optimization too. They still have waste. They still have different things that they could change and be more efficient, so they can make the best use of the money that people are willing to donate to them, or the money where they come from. And they can serve the people that they're trying to serve in the absolute best way possible. But I can recover at least $50,000 in a 50-minute session of asking questions. Okay. And that number is actually low. It's really closer to 100,000, but it does depend on the business, and it does depend on a lot of factors. And so up front, I have to be selective. I have to be working through, okay, what are the tools in my tool belt that I can pull out in my Batman tool belt as to how I can really help this business, because what works for one is not necessarily going to work for the other. And there's going to be different things that we stress. So we will spend the time over the next little while going through some techniques and some tools and some things to optimize, some different areas that I look at. In just doing a basic assessment, we're going to talk about some very foundational things that a business needs to be successful. And then from there, we're going to kind of take that we're going to branch out and go down a few rabbit trails that lead you to, but my goal, I hope, is that you end up stronger, no matter whether you're just a marketing professional freelancer out there trying to make this happen, or a person who's in the accounting department of a business, or somebody who is a business owner of any varying size. I mean, the cool thing about this is you can scale this a lot. It can go up. Unlike a lot of marketing that I was focusing on. I mean, yeah, there's the anomalies of the big companies that, need a couple of, need a smaller marketing company to do their work for them. And that does happen. It happens to people that have been certainly been on my lives as well as Sheena's lives. They're all friends, and they're having wonderful success and opportunity with that, along with the headaches that come with dealing with a big company. But it can also, I mean, this can go just so many different directions, but you can scale this particular set of solutions that I bring up. But also the floor is raised. So some of the smaller folks, this is not going to be as good a fit for, and that's okay. They'll get there, just like I would get there. But to really talk about the numbers we're talking about, especially that $50,000 number, you're going to have to start with a little bit higher scale. and work your way up. But I mean, there's so many ways you can do this, and they're not hard and fast numbers. So if a company maybe is, just a couple 100,000 short of what I really need to make that solution for them, maybe there's something else I can bring them that gets them to that point, that starts that journey for them. And we're talking about annualized revenue. I mean, this sounds like a huge number if you're not getting it, but I mean, where I start is somewhere around $40,000 a month in revenue, to get where I need to be, and higher, up to 60,000 and 100,000. That, for some of us small freelancers, that's a big number. But to a business that's really successful, that's really standing out, that's doing what it needs to do, and is dominating its market in ways that people are just not otherwise. I mean, they're really standing out because nobody else does things the way they do things. Then that number is completely attainable, and this will help them streamline that and do that so much better. So that's the place. This screen is the place of where I'm coming from with all of this, and so you all get the benefit of that if you will hang with me over the next several weeks. We're going to go through a lot of this, and we'll talk about what that looks like kind of at the end of this live. But I hope in the meantime to drop a little bit of knowledge for you that this is the beginning of a long series of things you may or may not want to talk about that nobody likes to talk about, because we're all sitting here looking for different things. So how I arrive at some of these topics that we're going to talk about, how I arrive at selecting my clients, is really what this particular thing is about. How do you get to that? Because with the way this process works, trying to achieve that number, I can't take in every client that comes my way. I know that goes against everything you talk about. It goes against everything of, I need clients. I don't care who they are. I want clients. I need people. I need to live. I need to, and yes, I do. I'm not trying to be snobbish about it in any way, but to realize these types of numbers, you have to go through a process that looks like this. We call it the success blueprint. And the success blueprint, the beginnings of it, there are 3 levels. We're just going to, over the next few weeks, we're just going to touch on the beginning one. It uses something called profit acceleration software. That is something I have access to. And so it is me taking you through and asking you a lot of questions. So then what you start to see, this is a sample company, it was just one of mine, but you start to see those charts on the right, they start filling out. You start seeing what your true company valuation is. Now, it's not necessarily something you can take to the bank, but you have an idea of what your company, of how well it's performing. What are its profit margins? What are its real profit margins? What are its expenses? Where does it position against the rest of the, how does it stand out against the rest of the group in your area? Not necessarily the entire world. If you're a corner bakery, you don't care what people in another state are doing. You care what your customers in your city are doing, or town, or whether or not they're buying. How and what you do stands out. That's how. There's one I reference a lot. There's a furniture store here in Houston. I call it a chain. They have like 3 locations, but they really only work in Houston. Yeah, they're called Gallery Furniture, and they have, their owner is legendary for a lot of reasons. He's the one that placed like the largest bet in sports betting history recently on sports teams, because he's figured out he can get away with that, and the casinos let him do this. But at the same, and he's goes to the Kentucky Derby every year and everything. But this is a furniture store guy. I used to watch his commercials 30 years ago in the early 80s. They were campy as you could imagine. I mean, they were just, somebody took a camera and propped it up, and here's this fool up there in a shirt and jeans, and sounding like a used car salesman for furniture. And you go to the place, and it was kind of dumpy. It's not anymore, because he kept, as the song goes, kept, from 8 Mile, the Eminem song, he kept step righting. He kept doing the things that he needed to do. He sat at the feet of business people, and he learned. and he kept evolving and kept changing it around and kept growing. So now you go to those places and they're all very nice looking furniture stores, the three of them, and he delivers everywhere in the country because he has found a tool and he's found a way of standing out that nobody else is able to touch. There are copycats in the Houston area who try. Maybe they're proteges of his, maybe they're not. I don't know. I don't know what that relationship looks like. Some of them look very similar, and I got to imagine he's, tolerating that. But because some of the commercials look, the idea is very similar. But, he gives back to the community a lot and is in the middle, for all of his gambling and whatever is first and foremost in disaster recovery of places all over the country. But can afford to do stuff like that. So as we begin this journey together, I mean, we ask a lot of questions using this software. The software does some calculations, does like over 4,000 calculations. It's probably even more than that. Truth be known, the number kind of escapes me at the moment, but it's a lot of stuff that this thing comes through and helps me to analyze your business based on what you tell me. And so then it becomes an interactive process. Okay. So, and then we produce a report at the end that is yours. And that's just the beginning of it. There are deeper dives that this we can go into, but they also take a lot longer. So the 50 minutes, we only cover about 3 of the things that you can do. And if you look on the left side of the screen, you'll see some of those. And so we're going to break some. These are all areas where we can add value to your company. We can add value to your business or your organization by implementing, changes or taking a look at where, at the very least, taking a look at where these are, because knowledge is power. And just knowing where your business is on a particular situation can be eye-opening enough, let alone making changes in it. Just awareness is a big deal. So we go through this, generate the process, and then we go into ProfitWorks, business optimization coaching, and help you step through these. You'll notice some of those look familiar. They look like marketing stuff because even at the bottom there, I don't know if you can see it or not, there is a section on digital marketing. Okay, so we don't abandon marketing at all, but it is not front and center. Buying ads is not front and center. We're going through and we are cleaning and organizing the house before we show it to anybody. And before we start reaching out there to really show what is possible through, buying ads, really ramping stuff up. But before you go and set up that new website or go and implement that, that huge project, are the things in your house in order? Is everything operating efficiently? Are you getting the best pricing for what your product is? Are you getting the best? Are your costs in line? Excuse me. Are your costs in line for what it is that you're trying to do? And are you really ready for all this? So let's circle back to the reason that we're here in the first place. And that is before you even start this process, before anybody even sees this or any version of it, as we go through, before I spend, 50 minutes of my time working to up to 2 hours if you do the full assessment, it can take a day and a half. It is a deep dive, man. But before we do any of that, let's talk about, are you really an ideal client for this? Is this something that is, are you ready for this? Are you ready for what comes with it? Are you really ready to do what is necessary to bring the real, I call it real business life change in your business to make things happen? So I've come up with 7 questions, and some of them are going to cut a little bit. But whether you ask them of yourself, whether you ask them of your clients, whether you don't ask them of your clients, but you are asking them quietly and you are evaluating those answers against your client, this is something you should ask. And I know we're always talking about more clients, go get more clients, go get more clients, go get more customers, go get out there. Not every customer is an ideal customer. They're just not. I'm sorry, but they're not. Not everybody. I got to eat too. We all do. We're all hungry. We all need business. We think we've got to go take everything that we can get, but you don't. And what has happened at some point, I have some clients who are wonderful people and great relationships, but the more we got into it, the more I realized they were not necessarily a good fit. I was having to reinvent everything every time. And so and I want to see them succeed. Every business I've gone into is with the idea of, we need to, this is life changing for people. I say it all the time. Dave Ramsey talks about when you get your financial house in order, your personal finances in order, you change your family tree. You change the way that you interact with your family. You change the way your family interacts with you because you got your stuff together. Well, it's the same here. Real business life change means when you have your business in order, when you're doing things successfully, then it changes how people interact with you. It changes the clients you take on. It changes so many things. That's how the furniture guy, Jim Mackingvale is his name. That's how he's able to do the things that he's doing, because he was willing to put in the hard work in the beginning. He was willing to set up the processes. He was willing to do, and he did the same things over and over and over and over and over again. And that's what we in business have to do. If you start talking about the E-Myth, great book, E-Myth Revisited, and a great set of principles, but it talks about this, is setting up the same processes over and over and over again. That is just as true for digital marketers as it is for anybody else. Okay. Because we have to set up the same things, because yes, it makes our job easier, but it gives us the opportunity to perform so much better, to really, truly serve these clients. But how do you know if a client is right for you? Okay. So let's just get into this. All right. So number one, the first question. So do you have the capacity to take on an influx of new business? Can you handle this? If I do my job of what I'm supposed to do, and can your business handle it? Will the wheels start coming off? Will problems happen because, okay, what you're doing is fantastic and it works for the dozen clients you have, but if I bring you 20 more, can you hang with that? Or is it going to start having problems? Are the clients going to start complaining because you're not able to service what they're doing? We all as marketers have had that realization, let's face it, where it creeps into the back of your head that there's really truly only so many clients you can take on and do this efficiently. I've had people that are successful marketers that that I have friendships with and relationships with. And they say how your agency behaves when you're making $10K a month, $10,000 a month, okay, is different from startup mode. How your agency behaves when you're getting $50,000 or $100,000 a month is different than $10,000 a month. You think differently, you react differently, you scale differently. And that's what's the answer behind this. So this is something you can ask your clients, and yeah, it sounds boastful, but it's really not. You don't want to find out down the road that, okay, you did your job, you did what you're supposed to do, and now they're losing these clients just as fast as they're bringing them in because they were not ready to support this. They're not ready to hang with it. Sorry. But that's the first question. That's the first thing you got to ask is, if I do what I'm supposed to do, can you handle this? Are you prepared to handle this? Show me what your process is as to how you do this. If there's 20 people in here versus 10 people in here, if lines are out the door, how are you going to handle that? How are you going to pivot, plan now? How are you going to do this? And this question applies to you as well. If you benefit from all these things that all of us talk, that Sheena Lee Kennerly and all of us talk about. She's telling me last night about clients that she has that have started these prospecting methods. You'll see more about that conversation tomorrow. or and very soon in these plugin service, excuse me, plugin service profiles that we have. And they now all of a sudden their agencies have gone from zero to crazy in like 2 weeks. Can they handle that? And she wonders about that, and is trying to help them cope, and is trying to help them deal with the success that they're not going to turn away at all, but trying to make sure they don't lose it, and those clients start going out the door as quickly as they came in because they were not ready. Okay. So it's point 2 here. We're going to go through 7 questions to ask. Okay. And point 2 kind of speaks to some of this. Okay. Do you have policies and procedures in place for success or business process? I've talked about business process mapping. I talked about it at the beginning of this live. So do you have these things in place where these are set policies and procedures for things? Have you taken the time to list out your sales process? Do you have sales? Do you have fulfillment? Just as important as sales, guys. And do you have the admin side of things, particularly the accounting? Are you able to keep track of the accounts payable, make sure your bills are paid on time, the accounts receivable, that you are getting your money? One of the things problems we ran into and that I've run into in business and my team with me that I've been a part of is not that we weren't generating revenue, is that we had rentals that were not getting paid. And so we had people that really became a problem for us because we had people that weren't paying their money. They weren't bringing that, and that was expenses that that was revenue we were we were counting on to be there, and it wasn't there. So then what do you do? How do you make that different? So do you have these policies and procedures in place now? If not, are you willing to do it quick, fast, and in a hurry? That is something that whenever I do my consulting, that I can, you said the C word. Oh boy, 20 years. When I do my coaching, let's get to the modern, right? Even though it's the same thing. When I work with clients, this is something that we need to put in place. We need to put in set policies and procedures. And it helps everybody, for those of you who follow the E-Myth, it helps everybody to understand what's expected. You bring in, hiring people is a problem for folks. Bringing in VAs, guys. If you're going to have a virtual assistant, have everything in place, that it's the same process, that it's easy to train somebody because you're training them on the same methods over and over and over again. They know what's expected. You know what's expected. Okay. So policies and procedures at the very least, a business process map along with that at the most. Both of those will make a tremendous difference for you. And sorry, everybody, I'm getting over being sick a little bit. In fact, thank you to Sheena Lee Kennerly for stepping in recently to cover for me while I was recovering from COVID. So, all right. So on these policies and procedures, now it's one thing to have them; it's another thing to follow them. You can do all the fun HR exercise you want and put all this policy manual in place. And oh yes, you've got a policy manual and you're so awesome. But do you follow it? Do you actually do what it says? Is it actually written in realistic form, or is it boilerplated and templated? Do you actually follow what's in it? Because I can guarantee you, especially in HR, if something goes sideways, an employee is going to be that's wronged is going to be looking at that, and they're going to try to get you to follow it. And if not, their attorney is going to get you to follow that procedure manual that you put in place to the letter. So do you follow it? Do you practice what you preach? Do you actually live by these set methods of doing things? Are they static, set in stone forever? No, they shouldn't be. They should, you should take periodic time to adapt them as business life happens, as things happen, as things change. What worked, like we were saying before, What works as a startup doesn't work once you hit 10K in marketing. That's probably the same for a lot of businesses. Once you hit a certain percentage, it doesn't business doesn't behave the same way, and so you need to change. You need to adapt it. You need to grow it, but you also need to follow it and use it as the tool it was intended to be. Okay, big difference making it versus following it. So do you follow these processes in place? Okay, question number 4 here that you should ask. Excuse me. How would your friends say that you handle change? You personally. Okay, so this goes back to question 1. If you're bringing the change, if you're bringing the thunder, and you're doing what you say you're going to do, how does that client react? I think this is a fair question to ask. It's not a very politically correct one to ask always, but it's this one and the next one you're going to find. But these are important. How do you react to change? How would your friends say that you react to change? I want to put you on notice. Change is coming. If we're doing what we're doing correctly, some things may not change, but you brought me on for a reason. You brought me on to get you more customers. You brought me on to really realize the power of your business, in my case, and what it can do. And that's going to involve some change. That's going to involve some strategic thinking. It's going to involve changing the things that you do and the ways that you do them. So in that case, how do you deal with change? How do you deal with, are you going to be resistant to this whole process? You talk about, yes, there is an influencer, there's influencer marketing, but also in a business, you try to identify, if you're working with somebody on coaching and optimization, you try to identify the change agents, the people who are okay with this, that are willing to make this happen, because you're going to run into equally, if not more, people who don't want this to happen. And so they start, do you have the power to overcome the person you're working with? Do they have the power to overcome those people and say, you know what, we brought these people in for a reason? Your champions is the word I'm looking for. There's champions in every business. You find somebody who's willing to escort you through this process and allow this process to happen and overcome the naysayers, to really get to, okay, a healthy bit of skepticism is fine. It should be there. These should be interactive conversations. This shouldn't be just roll over and, okay, just because just because the coach says so. But, there comes a point when you got to say, this is, okay, I hear your objections. They're noted. You make some good points, but here's how we can deal with and address those. And in finding those, sometimes they'll come up with stuff that you hadn't thought of, but you needed to, and that's okay. That's healthy. That's good. But the people who just flat out lay down, no, you're not going to do this. Well, why? I don't know. You're just not going to do it. Those are the people that don't deal with change well. And so you're going to run across those people, even as a marketer, even as somebody who the company brought in to make a difference. You're still going to have your naysayers. You're going to have your people who just absolutely refuse to work with you. They cannot be convinced. And because they don't want to deal with change, they don't want to change anything. Their little world is working just fine for them, even though it's really not. And you have to overcome that. So this is a fair question to ask, not only of yourself and your potential client and your champion that you're talking to and you're working with, but they need to ask it in their organization too. Okay, and this needs to be an open and transparent thing, particularly in coaching world, but also in marketing too. If I approach a small business and I start and there's two partners, say, you know what they say about partnerships, true old school business partnerships, by the way. But it's with good reason. Sometimes somebody's really on board with it, and the other times the other person is just not, and they will sabotage themselves before they will be helpful, because that means change, and change they don't deal with well. Okay. So this is a very good question to ask up front. Another one, this is kind of an ego defense question. This one and this next one that I'm going to move on to the next point. Are you coachable and teachable? Both of these are huge ego defenses. Well, of course I'm coachable and teachable. Why would you say I'm not? Of course I deal with change. Okay. Yeah. I'm not stupid. Come on. I do, but so we all say that. Okay. We all do. Every single one of us, including me. So if you hear nothing else out of this, take these two questions, take a very long, deep breath before you answer them, and really decide if you're in a place that you're ready for this. Okay, as a potential customer, when you're asking these people, when you're dealing with yourself, before you even go out there and start offering services as any salesman, are you willing to be coachable? Are you willing to change? I am here to tell you that I have signed, I try to consider myself very coachable and teachable. There's been a lot of that recently because I've really gotten to the point that I wanted the reset. I wanted the change. I wanted something that not everybody else was doing, but could get the impacts that I want to get. But there has been a time when I have not been coachable and teachable, but said I was. Okay. Of course I am. I'm coachable. Oh, really? Are you? Okay. Well, then change this and this and this. And here's why. Well, no. This is a question. These two questions are something, particularly the coachable and teachable part, that you really have to spend some time marinating on before you answer. That's fair. That's very fair. I mean, don't get paralyzed by it, but it's very fair. Spend your time saying, am I really ready for this that's coming? Am I really ready to do what's necessary, what I'm hiring people to do for me, and the changes they tell me to make, and the things that they tell me to do? Am I willing to sit at those feet, no matter what that is? And again, working through some of the why is healthy. You should ask questions. And not to challenge, but to say, you know what, I want to learn why. I want the why behind this. I'm ready for the why. I'm not trying to be difficult. I just want to know why these things are the way they are. A good coach, every single time, a good teacher, whether it's fifth grade, primary school, or whether it's college, a good teacher should recognize that and say, okay, you seem to want to be in. They're on the lookout for the people who want to know more than the sum of what they're teaching, and more. They want to know more. They want to get in. They want to interact with it. They want to learn. They want to implement what's there, but they want to know the why. I promise you, a good teacher and a good coach are on the lookout for those people. And once they find them, they are. It energizes them as much or more. That's why they coach. That's why they teach, to pour into those types of people. And they will give everything they have to that person to see them succeed, because that's the people we're looking for. That's the reason teachers teach, is looking for those people, those diamonds in the rough, where they really do, and they turn into something special. A true teacher and a true coach get joy out of that fuels them for the rest of their life. And they will talk about, if you ever go back and visit your old teacher that you really appreciated and ever get the chance, if they made an impact in your world and you get to go thank them, the reaction you'll get will just be beyond what you could possibly imagine, because I'm thinking about a couple of opportunities I've had to do that with people, and I need to do some more before they leave this world. So some people that really made a difference for me, the people that that had an impact for me because they're willing to coach me and to teach me. And I hope to be that for other people. That's the reason why some of this has become full circle for me, is to make that run. But this is right here, right now, when you're starting that journey, this is something that you need to ask people. This is something that you need to ask yourself. Are you willing to do what it takes to be open to the change that could potentially be coming your way? Are you absolutely ready? Okay. And that sort of leads us to question 6. Okay. And on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how hungry are you? How ready for this are you? How willing are you to learn? How willing are you to be a part of, what these people you've chosen to surround yourself with? How open to this are you? Are you, if you're really ready, you're at the end of your rope. Things are not working the way that you wanted that you wanted them to do. And anything that reasonably makes sense, somebody's laid out the arguments for you. You're ready to go. Okay, I want to make a change. I want to be a part of that process. You should be a part of that process. You should be a huge part of that process. But you have to be willing. If you're coachable and teachable and you're really truly ready, this is how you sort of arrive at, am I hungry for this? Am I ready for this? Am I ready to go? Am I willing to do what it takes? Okay, all this makes sense. I'm willing to be coachable. I can deal with change. Okay, I know it's coming. And I may or may not react well to everything, but I can handle it. Okay, and I'm hungry. I'm ready to go. When you're hungry, how does it go? When you're hungry, you eat. And there's another phrase that gets tossed around network marketing a lot. If you do the things that others won't, later you get to do the things that others can't. If you do the things that others won't now, later you get to do the things that others can't. That is being hungry. That is willing to do what it takes to position yourself and your business as a success. That is being willing to do what it takes for your clients to position themselves. Now, that said, you can't be hungry for your client. You can want all the success for them and all the customers coming in their door and all that, but you know what? If they don't want it, it's not going to work. If they're lackadaisical about it, it's not going to work. If they are, resistant at every turn, and we've all seen those people. Yeah, they responded to your ad, but they're just questioning everything. Even to the and you have that realization point of, so why did you say yes to this again? Why did you contact me? You know what I'm going to do. I'm here to tell you. I'm here to provide these services for you. This is revenue for me. But do you really want this? Is this real? Do you want your business to succeed or not? Let alone mine. Do you really want your business to thrive? Are you done? Are you burnt out? And it does happen. Burning out happens in business ownership, particularly in ownership, and particularly with smaller businesses. If you've been frustrated and hitting your head against the wall for a long time due to regulations or due to not competing or not success or not whatever, you can get burnout, you can get frustrated, you can get keeled over, and you lose that hunger, you lose that drive, you lose that reason that you got into this in the first place. Okay. But if you have either you still have it or you have managed to rekindle it, which does happen, then I'm rekindled. Can you guys tell? I'm hungry. I'm ready to get this going. But if you find that hunger again, then that number goes up. Then a lot of good things can happen when you're hungry, because you're looking for those solutions. You're out there you're making a difference. You're out there, trying to make this work. Okay, what I've been doing is not working. I need to reset it. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm willing to go find out. I'm willing to go, I'm going to weigh my options. I'm going to, bring on some potential coaches or some marketers or some, maybe a website is my thing. I want you to talk to me about why a new website is, would help me, or why, and why it would not help me. Okay. There's sometimes not everybody needs a website. Don't send a website to do a funnels job. Okay. Sorry, but these are things we've been talking about for 6 months. in this group and in several of these groups here that are seeing this. This is things we've been talking about for 6, 9, 12 months. It's the message doesn't change, the packaging does. Okay. It's you're there is sometimes when it's okay and good for you and good for your psyche and frankly good for a customer's psyche to hear no, to hear maybe this isn't going to work. Here's some things you need to think about, but I don't think this is going to be a good fit for either one of us, and I don't want to set you up for that kind of failure, and I don't want to blow your money. I would rather be the marketer who says, not right now. Why don't you consider doing some of these things? Why don't you think about some of these questions, and then let's talk in a couple of months. No does not mean shut the door, never hear from you again. It shouldn't. Okay. It just means not right now. It means that's why we do drip campaigns in marketing, isn't it? That's why we keep everybody. I mean, there's several types of, there's the ones who, are not ready to make a decision right now. That's okay. There's also the people who they get right up to the door and say, you know what, at the end of the day, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for that kind of change right now. I got a lot going on in my life. I can't deal with this. But I don't want to, I don't want to kick you. I want to keep that lifeline out there. I want to keep that phone. I want to keep your phone number. I'm not going to lose your phone number. I'm not going to lose your email address, because I think in 6 months, once I get my head together, I'm going to come back and I'm going to have a fresh perspective, and we're going to do this. Okay. This is all hungry. Okay. This is all really weighing these 6 questions. Okay. So we've gone through all these 6. We've asked some hard questions, either in our mind's eye or directly to these people or directly to ourselves. We have asked these questions. We have put this together. So let's talk about question 7 then. And we're going to touch on part of this later. Okay. We're going to spend an awful lot of time. You might have seen on the screen before something about market dominating position. And we're going to talk about what that means, because that is crucial to all of this. It is one thing to have it as an option to generate revenue. It's another to actually incorporate it as a thought process, because every business should have. And so that starts with this question. Okay. What does your business do that sets you apart, that is unique out there? What are you doing, whether it's a product or a service or a way of doing service or something extra that makes you unique? How many go high level experts are in the Boost Business Experts thing, guys? I mean, I'm sorry. I'm going to harp on you for a reason, because I want you to succeed. I want you to stand out. I want you to be different than everything else you see out there, because everybody else is DMing and prospecting and putting out there the same stuff. Yes, AI helps you write it a little better, but it's the same message. So what makes you different? Going back to my furniture store guy, Gallery Furniture is the company. Look it up. Look it up. It's out there. One of the thing that they do that sets them apart is they deliver tonight. That truck is, if you're in the Houston area, I should say, that's the caveat. That truck is almost following you home. You think I'm kidding? It is true. I've heard it happen in a few cases where the truck almost it's following them home. It's like 5 minutes behind them. By the time they got out of the store and did something or other, then here's the truck following, almost following them to their house. 5 minutes later, they show up because they weren't far behind. Okay. We talked about in an earlier episode, we talked about a gas station chain, convenience store, gas station called Buc-ee's. Okay. It's a video. You can go back and find it. We might even repost it for a couple of times. I may repost it in the coming weeks, just for this reason. Their claim to fame, yes, they're a gas station, they're a convenience store. They got a lot of food and stuff in there for when you're on the travel. But the thing that specifically sets them apart, the reason that they went into being, quite literally the reason they went into being, was the bathrooms. That's the thing that they do. They are consistently rated nationally like number one or number two or number four. I think it was. I mean, of cleanest bathrooms in America. They pride themselves. They have staff whose full job is to monitor those bathrooms 24 hours a day and clean them at worst on the hour. At most, they're cleaning them every 30 minutes. Or as something happens that needs to be cleaned up. But that is you would think that would be the lowest of the low job, but for them, that is such a priority that those people are, you've never seen people take pride in cleaning a bathroom before, but these people do. And with good reason, because this is the bathroom is a showplace of these stores, regardless of whatever else it is that you buy there. And there's a lot. Excuse me. You're gonna come in and use the bathroom after a long bit of travel, and they're just far enough out of town that you haven't settled up out of a city that you haven't settled into a rhythm yet, and you probably need, or you're about to go into a city if you're coming from someplace else, and you might need to go before you show up and charge in and plug up the works at grandma's house or your business client or whatever. So they're strategically placed on purpose to accommodate that need. But that's what sets them apart. So it could be something as grandiose yet simple as that. It could be something really simple. It could be something that is, back to the bakery, you have a particular cake that nobody else has figured out how to make, and it's incredible. There's a company, Greenberg Smoked Turkeys, that we order from a lot. I've sent them to clients and many people that I'm associated with have sent them to clients. And okay, a lot of people smoke a turkey, but I can just about guarantee you've never had anything like this. It is, if you like smoked turkey, it is fabulous. But they serve it a certain way. In fact, the complaints come when people try to actually bake it. You don't have to bake it. This thing comes pre-cooked. It's already cooked and smoked and basically ready to serve. Yes, you should put it in the refrigerator, but then serve it at room temperature. Don't really heat it up. And it's phenomenal. They take a black pepper gun and strategically put it in places that just enhance that smoke flavor. And yeah, your hands and your fingers smell like smoke from eating it, but it's fabulous. But that's their difference. How many other places that you know of? Think about businesses that you know that are successful, wherever they may be in the world. Why are they successful? It's not because it's not on price necessarily. That lasts for a little while. It's not on other things. What one thing do they do that everybody remembers them for? When you go find that little shop in a village in whatever country, people go seek this out every time they travel to that country for this reason. What makes them so special that excuse me, that people seek out that business or seek out that store or that shop or that whatever. If one of the people that Sheena Lee has interviewed, it's a company called Red Rocks Online Solutions. And this is one of the videos. They have something special that they do for customers as well. That is, I promise, unique. I don't know if it's public out there, so I'm not going to jump into it. But just to say, it is they call it the Disney experience and they're website designers. Then I'm sure they do a wonderful website. They're doing one for me. Okay, partially because of this reason, and partially just because I wanted to reward the good company that's setting up a good website that makes this happen. Okay. But they do offer something extra that I've never seen anybody else do this, and it's a little thing, but it's not a little thing. It's not a little expense on their part, but it's something people will remember. It's an extra perk that they give their clients that really doesn't have anything to do with the website. They give you something as a thank you for contracting them to do the website. Okay, so Red Rocks Online Solutions. Look them up if you need a website, and just see how and talk to Zach Coder and the company over there and see what they do that's different. Okay, that's a set apart for them. They're what makes the business different? What makes your business different? What do you do that's large or small? Doesn't have to be huge, guys. I mean, it doesn't have to be a big experience. It can be something small but memorable, where people it's a big deal to the people. It adds to the experience of doing business with you. How do you stand out? What are you doing that not everybody else is? Those are the things that we're going to spend a lot of time on, because it is a game changer. It is a difference maker. It is something that will set, even if a handful of other people are doing only a handful of other people are doing it. I mean, that doesn't mean you're just completely locked out and it's got to be unique for unique sake. Maybe you do it better. Okay, but if everybody's doing it, it's not special. If a few people are doing it, that's okay. If you're the only one doing it, it's game changing. It is market dominating. It is nothing else. Nobody else is doing it. It's like the unique sales proposition, the USP we always talk about. It's taking that to another level. Why are they different? Why should somebody do business with you? What do you do that's different? What's in a piece of attention to detail that you do that nobody else does? Okay. The E-Myth Revisited book is full of stories about that. So highly recommend checking that out, because that's one of the things that makes it different. There's a story that the author tells about a hotel in California. No, not the song, but there is a hotel that he runs across that he has a very, very unique and special experience with, and you have to read the book or listen to the book to find it. So totally worth doing. But meantime, think about what makes your business different. What makes this whole setup different? Think about these 7 questions. In fact, what makes you different? What makes this such a big deal? These are the things that will set you apart, not only as a business who is trying to grow and get out there, but for every one of the prospects that you come in contact with. These are all the questions you should be asking of those prospects. These are the questions, in some respects, that you should get them asking of their customers. What makes it different? Why do you choose us, customer, Mr. or Miss Customer? Why do you choose my client? Why do you want to do business with them? What makes them different than all the other dentists in town? There's an example I saw of a dentist offering the same price to non-insurance customers that the copay patients would pay for services. And so that's a little thing. I mean, it's not little financially, but it is in some ways. But think about how much goodwill that gets you. But the secret of that is, as far as insurance goes, is that if you don't have insurance and you talk to some of these businesses, they've already price adjusted. They know you don't have insurance, but you're also not costing them as much money to go deal with insurance. And so they don't have to hire somebody to do that. So they can charge lower prices for things. Chiropractors run into this all the time. That they don't accept insurance. I've had chiropractors argue to me that accepting insurance is the absolute worst thing the industry has ever done. So they don't do it, because then they have to have somebody whose job it only is to deal with the ins and outs of the insurance company. If they don't have to worry about that, they can charge lower rates. They can be more affordable. They can understand when people get out of that mindset of needing insurance, and they can charge them a fair rate for a great service. Okay, and that's okay. So yeah, a lot of material here. But these are questions I hope that you kind of go through and work through. And we're going to be taking this to another level over the coming weeks. So are these questions harsh, or are they real? Are these questions that you feel you should be asking, either consciously or unconsciously, of every prospect you come across? Are these things that are that can make a difference for you, that change your mindset? when you're going and looking. Not every prospect is a good one. Okay. Not every prospect is. Not every customer is going to be a good one. Sometimes it's okay to say no, for your own sake as well as theirs. Sometimes, because then if you're not able to do the things that you say you're going to do for a client, because they're the one setting you up for failure. They're blocking you at every turn. I think about my first SEO job long ago when I first started in digital marketing, and the company, decent, good sized company, and it was a referral. It was fantastic. But then it came time to make the changes on the website, and lo and behold, we didn't seem to have website access. Okay, fine. They want somebody internal to do it. But so here's the changes we need to make, and here's what we're going to do. No, why aren't they happening? What's going on? So they sabotage their own, it doesn't matter what I recommended or what they were insistent on doing it, and they weren't doing it. They weren't handling it. They weren't making those changes. They weren't even trying, for any number of reasons. But it doesn't, so then that sabotaged the thing, and it just went away into nothing. And I didn't give them the value, and that cost me not only, it cost me reputation with my referral, the people that sent it to me. So what are you doing? You're not giving them, I'm not going to send you anything anymore. And they shouldn't, because I wasn't able to provide the value, but I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. So that's the failures that can happen with this. If your client sets you up for failure, it doesn't matter what you offer and how different it is, because you didn't do some of your homework in the beginning, your legwork in the beginning of vetting your client, your potential client. You're just excited to have a client. I get that. I do. But you need to get to a point where you're doing just a little bit of vetting. You have some controls in place to say, you know what, this is not going to be a good fit for either one of us. That way I don't want to overpromise something and then get into a bind, and then that hurts me. It hurts you. It hurts me too. Because I'm not that way. Versus let's give you some things to think about, and let's take a little bit of time. No is not never want to see you again. It's not that. It is just no, it's not right now. So you think about these things and whether or not you're ready for this, and I'm available anytime you want to talk about them. Let's work through it. And many of us have those stories of those clients who took a little extra time and processed longer than you wanted them to. They ended up coming back and being your best clients, because they worked it through and they thought it through, and they answered their own internal questions, and they solved their own internal problems. And they ended up in a situation where they were much better off than otherwise. So I hope these questions help whenever you're working through this. This is, like I said, the beginning of a journey. If you'll come on it with me, I will make you a better CEO of your own company, even if you're not. I will make you a better person who prospects. I will make you a better person who fulfills. I'll make you a better person who goes through all of this, because we're going to look at least 12 and probably more things that a business can do, an organization can do. And they cover the entire set of business. Okay. So that's what this is going to look like over the next little while. Okay. So let's talk about that here for just a second as we kind of wrap things up. Okay. So that's the very top. That's the jump start. We're going to jumpstart your business. We're going to jumpstart your ways of thinking to get you to a place where you're able to be. It's more of a 360 approach. It's a 360 degree approach where you're able to look at things from a bunch of different lenses, not just marketing. Marketing plays a big role. I promise it does. Starting with that market dominating position and your branding and how you set everything up. But we'll take off into things like branding. We'll take off into things like, what are those things that are important that absolutely set you apart? Before, I start selling anything about you, what is that thing? If I don't have that, I can't do it. Okay. So we're going to take a big journey if you'll come along with us. And if this was helpful, if these videos were helpful, share them with people. Come be a part of the Facebook groups that these are in. Come share invite other people to be a part of these communities. These are growing communities. They're meant to be growing communities. Even on, YouTube and Rumble, these are meant to be growing places. So come be a part of that and what makes it important. We're also going to have something we call plugin service profiles. Okay, so those of you in the Boost business success using plugin services already know what that term means. At least I hope anyway. If not, let me just go through it briefly. There are plugins, there are services that we all need to bring to come alongside what we do to make what we do better. Okay, many of us use Go High Level. Some of us use other CRMs. Some of us use in website design, maybe you use Divi or Elementor for your WordPress website, or maybe you use Wix or Shopify or something else altogether. Squarespace to do your web design and to set things up for clients. We're all using tools. We're all using services. We're all using software, and we're all using techniques that make this happen that are bigger than the sum of us. Okay. There are things there are services, there are softwares, there are tools, there are techniques that we pull in to make things a big deal. Talking to someone in my group about using webhooks and what a difference that can make. And I hope you'll hear from them very soon if I can get them to come be a part of this. There are some other prospecting tools out there that we'll bring in. Be talking to Sheena Lee about her prospecting Chrome extensions here very soon. So there's so many different things before you get to any kind of training that whether they're white label or they're just regular services that make what this is better, that make what you do better. We've all adopted them. We've all kind of gotten to be a victim of them sometimes, and only in the sense that we rely too much on that tool and not on what it is that we're doing. But they're all there, and so that's what a plugin service is. And so we hope to profile a lot of them. I've got a deal coming up about different chat functions and different approaches to that you'll see. There's a whole list of softwares that we're going to go through and services that really run the business gambit. They're not just about sales and marketing. They run into a bunch of different areas that are all helpful to what you're doing. So that is what we have coming up. We're also going to mix in, you see there's some guest lives, some guest opportunities. We'll be back in each other's groups. If Sheena Lee Kennerly, myself, perhaps some Phil Ballier, and some other people that are Jennifer. We'll get her back over here, and Chris is a part of these groups. And we'll bring in there's some other subject matter experts that we would like to bring in, introduce you to. Whether we're doing this for interviewing them, or and talking to them about what they do and why it matters and why it should matter to you. Or them doing some of it by themselves, and doing standalones in the groups. We hope to have some of these guests, and if you will allow us to come into everybody's different communities and make this a little bit better than what we found it, because we all benefit from stuff like that. That's what's coming up here. I hope you'll stick with us. Thank you so much for joining us and for me working through all of my talking and all of my coughing. I hope there's some real value there. And I hope that you will continue to check this out. And like I said, I hope you will share all of this with your friends. I hope that you will get some tremendous value out of it. And I also hope to see you very, very soon. Thanks so much for watching. And we will see you online very, very soon. Oh, by the way, before I do that, if you haven't checked out already, if you have questions about something here, I know this has been kind of a live thing at times, but if you do have questions, if you have other things going on, just drop a comment someplace, and we'll see if we can we'll see if in where you're watching, and we'll see if we can answer it for you. We'll see if we can point you in the directions of what makes some sense. I see some folks have already done that, so that's awesome. All right, folks, look forward to seeing you. We will talk soon.